Late-night shooting in a shopping center parking lot. A woman is killed, and days later, the shooter is still on the run.
February 14, 2024, while couples exchanged gifts and whispered sweet promises, one meeting in Sacramento would end in tragedy. A mother of two, full of life, full of dreams, agreed to meet her ex-husband at a shopping center parking lot. But she would never return home. Surveillance cameras captured her car pulling in. Minutes later, gunshots rang out. Witnesses stood frozen as a figure fled into the night. The woman left behind was Chasity Sparkman, a daughter, a sister, and above all, a mother who lived for her children. Her lifeless body lay on the cold pavement, just feet away from the place she thought was safe. Her family's world shattered in an instant. Her two young children would wake up the next morning, waiting for a mother who would never come back. But what really happened that night? What was said in those final moments? And why was the man she once loved, the father of her children, the last person to see her alive? In the weeks that followed, investigators unraveled a story of love, obsession, and a desperate escape across state lines. The truth behind Chasity Sparkman's final hours would shock everyone who thought they knew her story. This is the case that changed everything. Stories like Chasity Sparkman's are more than just headlines. They are reminders of the warning signs we ignore, the dangers hidden in plain sight, and the lives forever changed by moments we can never take back. This isn't just about one woman's tragic ending. It's about the patterns that lead to violence, the families left behind, and the justice that must be served. But we're not just here to tell a story, we're here to start a conversation. Could this have been prevented? What signs were there? And what does justice look like for Chasity and her children? We want to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you've seen similar situations or know someone who has, your words might help someone recognize the warning signs before it's too late. And if you believe more people need to hear Chastity's story, make sure to like this video and subscribe. Because the more we talk about these cases, the more we can learn, and the more we can prevent another tragedy like this from happening again. Chasity Sparkman wasn't just a name in the news. She was a mother, a daughter, a sister, a woman full of ambition, love, and life. At just 26 years old, she had already carved out a path for herself, balancing motherhood, entrepreneurship, and education with a determination that inspired those around her. She wasn't waiting for life to hand her success. She was building it herself, piece by piece. Her days were filled with purpose. She was enrolled at Sacramento City College, working towards a degree in psychology. Her dream? To create a better future, not just for herself, but for her two children, 8-year-old Zani and 6-year-old Priscilla. She was their world and they were hers. Everything she did, every long night studying, every business order she packed, was done with them in mind. She ran her own beauty business, selling lashes and hair extensions, finding joy in the independence it gave her. To those who knew her, Chasity was a firecracker, full of energy, love, and a fierce loyalty to the people she cared about. Her family was everything to her. Born into a large family, her father, Alfonso Sparkman, was a father to 20 children. Chasity stood out as the peacemaker. No matter what disagreements arose, she was the one who would step in, smooth things over, and remind everyone what really mattered. Her brother, Preston Sparkman, often said she had a way of making people feel special, of bringing warmth to any room she walked into. She believed in second chances, in forgiveness, in always finding a way back to the people she loved. And yet, despite her strength, despite the love she poured into her family, into her children, on February 14, 2024, her life was cut short. A night meant for love became the night she took her last breath. The question is, why? Why did Chasity agree to meet her ex-husband that night? What was said in those final moments before the gunshots rang out? And were there warning signs, signs that something was coming, that she or anyone around her might have missed? As we unravel this story, we'll examine the relationship that began as young love but took a darker turn. We'll listen to the phone calls that hinted at a growing tension, a shift in dynamics. And we'll ask the hard questions, the ones that could help prevent another tragedy like this. Before we dive deeper, take a moment. If stories like Chastity's matter to you, if you believe in shedding light on these cases, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. These stories need to be heard. Not just for justice, but so that we can recognize the signs before it's too late. Every love story has a beginning. And for Chasity Sparkman and Isaiah James, it started the way many young romances do, filled with hope, laughter, and dreams of a future together. They met as teenagers, growing up in the same Sacramento neighborhood. From the outside, they were inseparable. The kind of couple that friends envied. The kind of love that felt like it could stand the test of time. They held hands on long walks, whispered promises of forever, and built a life together piece by piece. Their love deepened with the birth of their children, Zani, their son, and Priscilla, their daughter. Parenthood added another layer to their bond, making them more than just a couple. They were a family. And to the world watching through the lens of social media, they seemed happy, unstoppable even. Photos of Isaiah playing with their kids, teaching Zani to ride a bike, holding Priscilla's tiny hands as she took her first steps, painted the perfect picture of a devoted father, a loving husband, a man who had everything he could ever need. But love, as beautiful as it can also be deceiving. Because behind the smiles, behind the pictures, something was shifting. Something was unraveling. At some point, everything changed. And it all seemed to start when Isaiah James found himself behind bars. The details of his conviction remain unclear. Public records don't tell us exactly what led to his incarceration. But what we do know is that this moment, the moment he lost his freedom, became a fracture in their relationship. A fracture that would never fully heal. Even then, Chasity stood by him. She was loyal. She made phone calls, sent messages, made sure he stayed connected to their children. She visited when she could, posted about him online, made it clear to the world that she was still holding on. Still believing in the man she once fell in love with. But the man that sat in that jail cell was no longer the same man she had married. The conversations between them changed. The warmth between them began to fade. And in its place, something else took root: resentment, suspicion, control. You don't care about me anymore. You're out there doing things behind my back. You're not the same. Isaiah's words became sharper, more demanding. The calls that were once about love, about longing, about their future, became something else entirely. Chasity tried to reason with him, tried to reassure him. But over time she started to notice, no matter what she said, it was never enough. No matter what she did, the accusations didn't stop. And when she questioned him, when she challenged his behavior, the reaction was always the same. You're making things up. You're acting crazy. You're imagining things. Isaiah had lost control of his life, of his freedom. But what he still wanted, what he still needed, was control over Chasity. At first it seemed small. Little things. Questions that felt like concern. Where are you? Who are you with? Why didn't you answer my call right away? But over time, those questions became demands. And those demands became accusations. He wanted to know her every move, every interaction, every detail of her life outside of him. And when she didn't give him the answers he wanted, when she didn't comply with his expectations, he would twist the narrative. If you loved me, you'd answer. If you had nothing to hide, you'd tell me. I just want to know you're safe. But safety wasn't the real concern. Control was. At times, he would switch back to the man she used to know. The one who whispered promises, who spoke of forever. But the moments of sweetness never lasted. They were always followed by suspicion. Always followed by guilt. And Chasity, despite her strength, despite her independence, found herself trapped between the love she once knew and the reality that was now staring her in the face. The more she pulled away, the tighter his grip became. The arguments escalated. The trust eroded. And slowly, the young love they had once shared began to wither under the weight of something much darker. Her family noticed the shift. Friends noticed too. The once outgoing, social, vibrant woman who lit up every room had started dimming her own light. She posted less. She spoke less. And when she did, there was something different about her tone. A hesitation. A weariness. Have you ever seen it before? Have you ever watched someone you love slowly start to change, to shrink themselves, to fade away under the weight of someone else's control? If you have, you know. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens in small moments. In little compromises. In second chances given when they shouldn't have been. And by the time you realize what's happening, it's already taken hold. So the question now is, did Chasity see it? Did she recognize what was happening? And if she did, was it already too late? Let us know in the comments. Have you ever seen these red flags before? Have you ever ignored them thinking things would change? Because in Chastity's case, things did change. but not in the way she had hoped. And on February 14, 2024, the love story that once seemed unbreakable would reach its tragic conclusion. February 14, 2024, Valentine's Day. A day meant for love, for new memories, for whispered promises. For many, it was an evening of candlelit dinners, heartfelt exchanges, and embraces that felt like forever. But for Chasity Sparkman, this night would end differently. This night would mark her final hours. That morning, she woke up like any other, balancing the many roles that defined her life. A student, a businesswoman, a mother. Her day began early. Between getting her kids ready, preparing for class at Sacramento City College, and handling orders for her beauty business, there wasn't much time to slow down. But through it all, she kept moving, pushing forward like she always had. She spent time with Zani and Priscilla, her greatest source of joy. There were laughs, small conversations, everyday moments that, at the time, seemed ordinary. Moments she had no way of knowing would be their last. But there was something different about this day. A weight in the air. A decision that had been lingering in her mind. Isaiah had been calling her. Friends later revealed that Chasity had been hesitant about seeing him. She had moved forward, started creating a life independent of the man she once loved. And yet, for reasons only she knew, she agreed. Maybe for closure. Maybe for their children. Maybe because, despite everything, part of her still wanted to believe that things didn't have to end in anger. But what she didn't know was that this wouldn't just be a conversation. She wasn't just meeting Isaiah. Someone else would be there too. At 11 p.m., Chasity pulled into the Lake Crest Village Shopping Center, a public place, a choice that perhaps made her feel safe. The parking lot was mostly empty, the buzz of the day long faded. Storefront lights flickered, casting long shadows. The air was still, heavy with something unseen. Minutes passed. Then at 11:15 p.m., Isaiah James arrived. But he wasn't alone. Aona Burgos, his new girlfriend, was with him. Why was she there? Was this just a coincidence? Or had this meeting, this moment, been orchestrated from the very beginning? Security cameras captured the vehicles. The brief exchange. But there were no clear answers in the grainy footage. Just moving figures, a conversation lost in the night air. What was said in those last moments? Was there anger? Accusations? A plea for understanding? Or was the decision already made before a single word was spoken? One moment there were 3 people in that parking lot. The next, there was the echo of a gunshot, the quiet of the night shattered in an instant. Gunfire. Screaming. Then silence. The call came in at 11:17 p.m. 911, what's your emergency? Someone's been shot. A woman, she's on the ground. She's not moving. Witnesses later described the scene as chaos. A figure seen fleeing into the darkness. The distant wail of sirens growing louder, slicing through the cold air. When police arrived, they found her, Chasity Sparkman, collapsed in the parking lot. A single gunshot wound. Her body still. Her life slipping away. The paramedics worked quickly, desperately, fighting against the inevitable. She was rushed to the hospital, but deep down they knew. It was too late. 2 children, 8-year-old Zani, 6-year-old Priscilla, were asleep in their beds, unaware that their world had just changed forever. They would wake up the next morning expecting to see their mother. Expecting her warmth, her voice, her presence. Instead, they would be met with silence. With questions no child should ever have to ask. Where's mommy? When is she coming home? But there would be no homecoming. No more bedtime stories. No more laughter echoing through their house. Chasity Sparkman's life had been taken. And the man who once held her heart was now the one suspected of pulling the trigger. By the time investigators arrived, Isaiah and Aona were gone. They had vanished into the night, leaving behind a single undeniable fact. Chasity was dead. And someone had to answer for it. But where had they gone? Were they running? Hiding? Or had they planned this escape long before the shot was fired? As dawn broke over Sacramento, news of Chastity's death spread. Her family, her friends, her community, devastated. Shocked. Searching for answers. And as police launched a statewide manhunt, one thing became clear. Isaiah James and Aona Burgos weren't going to make this easy. They had disappeared without a trace. But they couldn't run forever. And when law enforcement finally found them, the truth about that night would send shockwaves through everyone who thought they knew the story. In the days following Chasity Sparkman's tragic death, the weight of her absence settled heavily upon her family. The once vibrant home, filled with her laughter and the playful chatter of her children, now echoed with a profound silence. Her father, Alfonso Sparkman, found himself grappling with an unimaginable loss. "I still can't understand," he confessed, his voice thick with grief. "I'm still in a daze." The community, too, felt the ripples of this tragedy. News of Chassidy's untimely passing spread rapidly, igniting a collective sorrow. Over 100 individuals, friends, family, and even strangers moved by her story, gathered at the very spot where her life was cruelly taken. They held a candlelight vigil, illuminating the night with flickering flames that danced in solemn remembrance. As they stood together, tears streamed down faces, and heartfelt tributes painted a picture of a woman who was energetic, outgoing, and always wore a radiant smile. She loved everyone, a mourner reflected, capturing the essence of Chassidy's generous spirit. Amidst the mourning, law enforcement intensified their efforts to piece together the events leading to that fateful night. Witnesses recounted seeing Isaiah James, Chassidy's estranged husband, with her shortly before the incident. This revelation cast a shadow of suspicion upon him. As investigators delved deeper, a startling discovery emerged. Isaiah James and Aona Burgos were gone. Hours after Chasity Sparkman was shot, the two vanished from Sacramento, leaving behind a grieving family and a city demanding answers. Investigators knew one thing: this wasn't a random act. This was planned. And now they were chasing two fugitives who would do anything to avoid capture. Isaiah and Aona didn't stay in one place for long. They moved carefully, avoiding places where they could be recognized. Police tracked their movements using bank transactions, surveillance footage, and phone records. Each clue led them across state lines, further away from Sacramento. But no matter where they went, they were leaving behind digital footprints, trails of their escape that investigators were piecing together. Days turned into weeks. Each time police got close, the suspects were already gone. But detectives knew one thing: no one can run forever. After nearly a month on the run, the chase came to an end. Law enforcement had been tracking Isaiah and Aona's movements, narrowing their search to the East Coast. And on March 14, 2024, with the help of the FBI, the pair was found and arrested in New York City. The operation was swift. Officers moved in, surrounding the suspects before they could slip away. There was no dramatic chase, no last-minute escape attempt. Just two people cornered and out of time. After the arrest, one officer summed it up best: they thought they could hide forever. The arrests provided a semblance of relief to Chassidy's family. Not a large relief, but it was a relief, Alfonso admitted, acknowledging the bittersweet nature of the development. The pain of loss remained ever present. Chassidy's two young children, aged 6 and 8, faced a future without their mother's guiding hand. The family, while grateful for the strides toward justice, now turned their focus to these innocent lives forever altered. "We will never get that back," Naina, Chassidy's older sister, lamented, "but we are happy and we cherish the time that God did allow us to be with her." Isaiah and Aona were taken into custody, waiting to be sent back to California to face charges. For Chassidy's family, the news was bittersweet. The people responsible for her death were caught, but it wouldn't bring her back. Her children would still wake up each day without their mother. Her father, her siblings, her friends, they would still feel the emptiness her absence left behind. Outside the courthouse, members of the Sacramento community gathered, holding pictures of Chassidy, lighting candles in her memory. They wanted justice not just for her, but for every woman who had suffered at the hands of someone who once claimed to love them. But the story wasn't over yet. The next battle would be in court, where the truth of what happened that night would finally be revealed. What led Isaiah to that parking lot? What role did Aona really play? And what would justice for Chassidy truly look like? The answers were coming, and the world was watching. In the quiet aftermath of tragedy, the true weight of loss settles heavily upon those left behind. For Chasity Sparkman's family, the pain is profound, but for her two young children, the void is immeasurable. Their mother, once a vibrant presence in their lives, is now a memory they must cling to as they navigate a world forever altered. Chassidy's father, Alfonso Sparkman, grapples with the sudden and senseless nature of his daughter's death. "I still can't understand, so I'm still in a daze," he confesses, the disbelief evident in his voice. The shockwaves of that fateful Valentine's Day continue to reverberate through the family, leaving them searching for solace in a sea of unanswered questions. Her sister, Naina, reflects on the irreplaceable loss. "We will never get that back, but we are happy and we cherish the time that God did allow us to be with her." The family now turns its focus to Chassidy's children, striving to provide them with the love and support their mother can no longer offer. The arrest of the suspects has brought a measure of relief. As Naina shares, I know my nephew said that he got some good sleep, so that says everything. As the legal process unfolds, the family braces for the challenges ahead. Isaiah James and Aona Burgos, both 25, have been apprehended in New York City and face extradition to Sacramento. They are charged with homicide, among other potential offenses, as investigators continue to piece together the events that led to Chassidy's untimely death. The path to justice is long and fraught with uncertainty. Court dates remain pending, and the family awaits the extradition of the accused to Sacramento, where they will face the charges against them. In the meantime, Chassidy's loved ones hold on to their memories, seeking strength in each other as they confront a future without her. In the face of such heartache, the community's support becomes a beacon of hope. A GoFundMe campaign has been established to assist Chassidy's children, ensuring they have the resources needed as they move forward. The family remains steadfast in their plea for justice. Chasity Sparkman was more than a name in the headlines. She was a mother, a daughter, a sister, a woman with dreams, with love to give, with a future that was stolen far too soon. She fought for her children, for her business, for the life she was building. But in the end, the love she once trusted became the very thing that took everything from her. Her story should never have ended this way. This case is more than just a crime story. It's a reminder, a warning, a call to pay attention to the signs we too often ignore. Because behind every tragic ending like Chassidy's, there are warning signs, red flags that, if recognized in time, could mean the difference between life and death. If this story moved you, don't just scroll away. Hit like, subscribe, and comment below. Share your thoughts. Your voice matters. Have you or someone you know ever been in a controlling relationship? Have you seen the red flags, the slow shift from love to control? Your story might help someone else see the danger before it's too late. Chastity deserved more. And so do the countless others still trapped in dangerous situations. Together we can bring awareness. Together we can make sure their stories are heard. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay aware. And remember, your life, your freedom, and your safety are worth fighting for.